Hi and welcome to the circus. Today I'm gonna talk about the differences between Crimson Beast Tamer and Jumping Jill. First of all, let's talk about their skills. Jumping Jill's skill is when she's placed from Soul, she gains plus 3k. And Crimson Beast Tamer's skill is when she has another copy of her in the Soul, she gains plus 3k as well. I mentioned in the last video that I prefer Jumping Jill more than Crimson Beast Tamer. You can actually tell that they have almost the same skill, when in fact, they have a lot of differences. First, let's talk about CBT. I listed some of the things that make CBT much different than Jumping Jill. First of all, she's constantly a 15k attacker with GBT's help. Second, she doesn't need to be called from Soul. As long as you have another copy of her in the Soul, her skill is live. Third one is it can boost 2 more units, which are Turquoise Beast Tamer and Barking Manticore. And last is she has a ride animation. On Jumping Jill's side, number 1, she needs to be called from Soul to activate her skill. Number 2, when she's called from hand, she does nothing. And number 3, she has no ride animation except for the default one. Yes, this makes it look like Crimson Beast Tamer is a lot better so far, but hear me out, okay? Here are some of the things that Jill can actually do. Number 1, she's a standalone unit. Number 2, she doesn't need a copy of her to actually work. Number 3, it's only a common unit, meaning you can get this card really easily. On CBT's side, she needs a copy of herself in the Soul to actually work. She cannot stand alone, and it's a double rare unit, meaning it's less likely to have a playset of her to actually work with. This is for me the reasons why I like Jill more. Crimson Beast Tamer needs another copy of her to work her magic, but if she doesn't have her twins, she's just a 9k vanilla, which is far worse than Barking Cerberus, which is the 10k vanilla. Yes, you run a lot of Soul Chargers, but if you didn't manage to put a single copy of her, she's practically useless. If you did manage to pull it off and get those CBTs in the Soul, she's fine. But here come some more issues. I'll give you guys a situation, okay? Let's say you have 2 CBTs in Soul. You use a Mirror Demon or an Alice to call one out. You get to use her skill effectively. But if you have no other way to put her back in, she's basically gone next turn. Now, you have 1 copy of her in Soul. If you didn't manage to get 1 more CBT on the next turn, you will need to retain her in Soul to maximize her skill. So, that's 1 less Soul to work with. She will be stuck there until you get another copy of her, or until you have no choice but to use her alone. It doesn't mean it has to be in Soul always, right? If you have a CBT in hand on the next turn, you can still use her. But what if you didn't, right? What if you didn't high roll enough to get that 3rd copy of her? I hope you guys are getting my point here. Now, if those units in Soul were actually Jill's, you can maximize on using both of them separately. You will have 2 15k attackers available to use anytime. Now, CBT can boost 2 other units, which are Turquoise Beast Tamer and Barking Manticore. But not all decks run those units. Yes, they can make nice numbers, but so does Dark Lord of Pale Moon and Jumping Jill. The only big disadvantage of Jill is that she's useless when called from hand. But if you have a Trapezist available in hand, you can use her to make her a 15k by scooping her in and then calling it back out. If you don't, she can be in the same position as a lonely CBT, which is a 9k vanilla, meaning these 2 units have the same floor. The only nice thing about CBT is that she boosts other units as well. But if you don't run those units, her value can be the same as Jill. The bottom line here is that out of 4 CBTs, you can only use 3 of them to maximize the skill, because you need 1 copy of her in the Soul to retain, and then the 3 other units are used. Unless you run the other 2 units, which is normally not being used right now in this current meta. Basically, CBT makes your deck a lot more piece reliant than it already is, whereas Jill makes your Soul consistent and more useful. So those were my reasons why I ran Jumping Jill rather than running CBT. If I managed to convince you on running her, that's a big thumbs up for you. If you manage to disagree with my opinions, please comment down below and give your own perspective towards this matter, because I'd like to hear your opinions as well. I hope I managed to explain everything, because I kind of feel bad for CBT. I don't want to talk shit about CBT because she's actually a good unit, but not right now. In the cross ride meta, the 13k base meta, she can actually be really useful. It's really late, but I really wanted to make this kind of video because I want to share my thoughts towards deck building in Pale Moon. So yeah, if you like Pale Moon as much as I do, please consider liking, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.